There we go. I was having trouble getting the video to get started. So I just wanted to go over a few things about Chapter 11 about informative presentations. We just finished with the persuasive chapter. I did that one first because the presentation that you're going to be doing is an informative presentation about a training situation in the workplace. And I have listed in the assignment some topics for you to choose. So you can look at those, and then also in your book on page 309 for this hard copy of the book, might be a couple of pages after that for the online book. But it lists a few different topics. Some of these would loan itself to a training in the workplace topic, and some of them would not. So look at the ones I have on the assignment, and then look at some of these, like diversity in the workplace. That would be one. Let me see. PTSD, you could make it PTSD in the workplace. That could be another one. Stress in the American workers. You could talk about how to deal with stress in the workplace, or how to deal with stress online. That's a good one. Online etiquette. I don't see too many more. I don't see too many more on here. But those are some that would lend themselves to the workplace. So you could use some of those. And then you decide on your topic once you brainstorm. Think about what you know. Maybe you work at a place and you've taken some training like OSHA training or EEOC training, and you'd like to cover that topic. That's fine too, but it can't be just about what you know. You've got to use research to build up that ethos, okay? And to have some logos in it too. So your audience, of course, is going to be us if it was a speech that you were giving in the workplace, or maybe for a client, you have to consider what they know about the topic. If they're there because they want to be there, if they're for or against what it is you're speaking about. But in this case, like I said, we're just informing, we're imparting knowledge, and we're educating our audience. We're not trying to persuade them, trying to get them to move or to change their mind, or to achieve some behavioral objective, like, say, going out and voting. Okay, that's a big one. So you want to go ahead and pick a topic that you think will be interesting. And like I say, on the assignment, there are topics, and I picked those because I think that those would fit and pertain to any one of us. So why do you want to do research? Well, you want to find research for your presentation, and make sure that you have those sources as well, because that helps, like I say, to build up your credibility. And you have to research your topics carefully. Some of the reasons are to find new information. Now, you don't want to use information that's like 5 years is okay. 10 years, you're pushing it. Okay, so you want to have cutting edge information. And so when you're picking those points and you're looking at your research, make sure that it's research that is current. To add to personal credibility, so maybe you have a degree in something, and in a particular area, or you've studied or you've worked at it for probably 5-10 years, you'd be an expert at it after that. Then you could, but you still want to add that research. Also, to prepare for questions and answers. If in your research or in the development of your outline for your speech, if there's a question that comes up in your mind, take care of it right then and there, because otherwise it'll become a problem for you. If it's a question for you, then that means most likely your audience won't understand. And so, and then to find content to support the main points. Of course, you've got to have supporting materials like statistics, quotations, and stories to add to interest, clarification, and for proof for your presentation. So what do you search for? You search for new ideas, new authors, like I said, newly published information, novel ways to present important but older information. So say you want to promote health in the workplace. That's always a big one. And they're talking about maybe you're talking about maybe you're giving a little presentation to your employees about good health and weight management, and you're looking at the old pyramid from the Food and Drug Administration, and then now you're looking at the new pyramid, which is quite different. So you'd want to use that new pyramid instead of the old one. Charts, graphs, pictures, and photos that you can use. So as you're researching for information and you come across a photo or a chart or graph, something that you can use in your speech in your slideshow and in your speech, then make sure that you save it, and then also write down where you got the information from. Well, on your information needed for if you're going to cite the statistics in your speech, then you're going to have to cite where you got it from in your speech. So, and like I said, you want to add materials that add interest, clarify, and prove your points. So where do you go for information? Well, it says here the internet, but you don't want a lot of .coms. That's what you don't want. Or .orgs or .net. You don't want a lot of those in your speech. What you do want is a good variety of sources that you use, like books, professional journals, the periodicals, of course, and some internet sites. But you don't want it to be all the same. You want a good, well-rounded amount of research from different sources. If you are to only use one source or two, it could be construed as being biased. So you want to have a good variety of sources. You need at least 8 sources for your bibliography. And out of those 8, you're going to cite orally as you're speaking, and you're saying those direct quotations or paraphrases. You're going to cite your material as you're saying it, not at the end of the speech, not in, oh, by the way, this is my bibliography. No, you've got to cite it as you're speaking, so you need 6 of those. All right, so you can use search engines, and you can go, I put the link for the library, for the virtual library for EPCC, and there's some browsers there that you can use to research your speeches. You can go by topic or by author, and you can look at it, and by subject, and you can go through there and see what you find. And that information has already been combed through for the credibility, who wrote it, when it was written. So it's done a lot of the legwork for you. All right, let's see what else here. EBSCO is one of the ones that everybody uses. They enjoy that site a lot with the virtual library. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the outline in your presentation. So you want the outline to be a 3 by 3 by 3 format for the body of your speech. So you're going to have 3 main points, 3 subpoints, which are the main points are Roman numerals 1, 2, and 3. The subpoints are capital A, B, and C. And then you also want to have subpoints, which are identified by numbers like 1, 2, and 3. So you want to have that 3 by 3 by 3 format. That's what that means. And you can take it even a step further and have subpoints if it's necessary, and that's fine too. And once again, make sure that you include those at least six direct quotes or paraphrases with the sites in APA style in that outline. Now, you're not to write a script. I don't want to see, if you don't turn in an outline and you turn in a script, your speech isn't going to count. It must be an outline format, a formal outline, and not a script. If you have a script and you read off of it, it's like giving a report. That's not a speech. There's quite a bit of difference between the two. So there's the topical pattern, and that's what you'll be using for this speech, is most likely a topical pattern. There's also a chronological pattern by time, a spatial pattern, a geographical, like the front, the middle, the rear, north, south, east, and west, or the first floor, the second floor, the third floor. These are different spatial patterns. And then for the persuasion, there's the causal pattern, cause and effects. All right, so then you have the introduction of your presentation. Now, what you have is an attention getter. So if that, when you're researching, look for something that has to do with your topic that's attention getting. Maybe a startling statistic, a photograph that you can talk about. Examples, extended examples, like an illustration, a cliffhanger. You start the story at the beginning of your speech as your attention getter, and then you end it at the end. So those are all examples of an attention getter. And then you want to tell us why it's important to the audience. Why is your topic important to us? That's audience adaptation. Next is your credibility statement. Tell us why you're able to speak on the subject. Well, of course, if you've got, your degree and 10 years experience and you've written several papers, then you would go that way. Okay, but for now, for these purposes, just tell us that you researched your topic and you want to share it with us. You found it interesting, and it's important for the working environment, and you'd like to share it with us. So that would be your credibility statement. Then you want to tell us what your central idea is. So today you're going to be speaking about whatever it is that you want to talk about. And then you want to tell us your main points, whatever those main points are. So you're previewing your main points in your introduction by just telling us, like I said, your central idea and then your main points. And then you go and you transition into the body of your speech. So let's begin with my first point, which is, and then you say that first point, and then you start getting into the information and, of course, your oral citations, which is those direct quotes and your paraphrases. So, and then there's an example attached to the assignment. I don't think it's a 3 by 3 by 3, but it gives you the general layout of the presentation for you to follow, so that you can use that for your outline. All right, so then in the closing of your speech, what you're going to do is you're going to transition. Well, wait, let me back up a second. In between each main point, you want to have internal summaries and internal previews. So you want to tell us what you spoke about, and then you want to tell us what you're going to speak about next, and then you introduce your next point, and then you talk about that, and then you go to your third point, you talk about that, and then you transition into the conclusion, and that lets your audience know the transition, lets your audience know that you're coming to the end of your speech. So let's go ahead and conclude to finalize what I've said. And so what you do is to sum up, so then what you do is you reiterate your central idea, and then you also reiterate your main points, and then you have that final closing memorable statement, right? And so that could be the cliffhanger that you want to finish, and then a final thank you. But you can't end your speech with that's it. You can't end it at the body of your speech without a closing, because that's not the correct way to give a speech. Sorry. All right. So you don't want to, this is a extemporaneous type speech where it's not really memorized word for word, but you know the information and you know how you've laid out your speech, so you can talk about it pretty fluently and know what it is that you're talking about it, because after all, you're the one that did the research, right? Okay. So if you had everything written down in a script, you'd be very robotic. You'd be looking at it, and you wouldn't be looking at your audience, establishing that eye contact, which is very important. And you wouldn't have a lot of gestures, because you'd be too focused on what you're reading. When you memorize a speech, then you're focused on trying to remember what it is you're supposed to say, and you may not appear as natural as it is if you know your topic and you know it well. So you want to do it extemporaneously. Now, some people will sit there and they'll have, let's pretend this is my cell phone. Instead of using note cards, they'll have their cell phone and they'll be doing this throughout the whole speech. No, that's not an extemporaneous speech, and you don't want to do that. You want to know your speech well enough to where only if you get lost do you need to look at your note cards. You can do some index cards. You can do some index cards, and you can write, like a skeletal outline on those, which is a delivery outline with cues on, like say next to main point 1A, right next to it, you have a little circle and you put slide 1. That's a cue. And then you might put over, say at the end of the speech, you might say crescendo. So you speak really loud. Okay? So you want to write those little cues next to that delivery outline so that you remember to show your slides. A lot of people, they'll be there and they'll be speaking and they'll forget about their slideshow, and then they'll have to start pressing the button and pressing the button, the forward button, to get caught up to where it is that they need to be. So you want to be aware of your slides as well throughout your presentation. You want to look confident and relaxed. You want to stand up straight, put your shoulders back and down. And if you don't stand up straight, then you're not taking in that oxygen that you need to be able to project your voice far enough for the people in the back of the room. Say you've got 30 people in a room, like in a classroom, then you want them to hear you. But if you're not standing up straight and inhaling all the way down into your diaphragm, then you're not going to be able to project that voice. So you want to be able to to do that. Look directly at your listeners. It's important to do that in the beginning. Smile. I try to smile because I find myself sometimes being so serious that I don't smile at all. So I try to smile. I'm consciously aware of that now, that I need to smile more. Dress in a professional manner. You don't want to wear like anything that's too casual. Like right now, I put on this. It's a work blouse. I had on a jacket, but it was too hot, so I had to take it off. So you want to look nice. I try to, comb your hair and a little bit of lipstick for the ladies or the men. Not judging here. So you want to make sure that and men do wear makeup when they present. If they're doing a video recording, they do wear makeup to make themselves look a little bit more alive, because when you're on video, your face can look washed out because you don't have enough makeup. So you want to use natural gestures. Or you want to use gestures that emphasize what it is that you're saying. And then when you have enough room to move, when you're on the podium area, the space around the actual microphone, the lectern, you can move around that area, go from one side to the other, kind of sidestepping, like you do that grapevine move or that vine move when you're country dancing, and you're moving sideways. So you want to step sideways, but don't turn your back to your audience, because that's considered very rude. You want to sound conversational and natural and enthusiastic. Your volume, like I said, is important. Your pitch, you want to vary your pitch. Today I seem to have allergies and my voice isn't very clear. And you want to give emphasis on stressing words with your voice to give significance. And then the rate that you speak is very important. If you speak very, 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 very fast, then your audience isn't going to have time to process what it is that you're saying. So you don't want to speak at a really fast rate or too slow of a rate, but you want to speak at a rate that people will understand you and have time to digest what it is you're saying. It's okay to pause every once in a while, take a little breath, and instead of using uhs and ums like I have at times. So you need to do that. Use language that is it says here, use language that is informal, but you don't want to use slang. That's too informal. You want to be formal, but you want to be conversational. You want to use vivid and specific language, and you want to avoid technical words, that jargon, that scientific jargon that people may not understand. You need to break it down for them and put it into words or put it into pictures or photos that they will understand what it is that it is you're saying. Okay. So how do we build confidence when we're speaking? We speak a lot, we speak often, but before that, you practice. And before that, you prepare that outline. If you don't prepare your outline, you won't have a good speech. So you want to have great speeches too. So you prepare that outline, put those sites in there, prepare it like I told you, have that introduction, have that body with those internal summaries, internal previews, and then have that conclusion. Your outline should be about 2 pages long, okay? And I don't mean skipping half a page on the first page with your name triple spaced, and then no, that's not going to work. So make sure that you have it spaced out correctly. And also look at, like I said, look at the example that I have. Don't make it 20 point to take up more space, because that's not going to fly either. All right, so you want to practice your speech. Once you get that outline down and you feel comfortable with it, you want to stand up and you want to practice your speech using your visual aids. I'll go over visual aids next, in the next video that I do. So practice that speech standing up with your visual aids. And you can, like I said, you can use a flat screen too. I have my flat screen right here. That's why I keep my television. That's why I keep pointing over there. But you can use that, and you can also have it on your computer, and you can, you can forward it. You might want to use 2 computers if you have 2 available. You don't want to use your phone because then the picture comes out like this small, and it's not like me where you can see a little bit of background. And most definitely you want to stand up. You don't want to be sitting down when you do your speech. Do not sit down because then you'll have to redo it as well. So practice it 3 or 4 or 5 times. And as you're practicing it, time yourself too. And make sure that you're within that time limitation. I think it's 6 to 8 minutes is what I have down. All right. So read the assignment and it'll tell you. So you want to make sure you're within that time frame. The reason you want to learn how to time your speeches is because, say you're in a presentation where there's other people also presenting, you don't want to go over your time because then you're going to make them have to cut their speeches short. Or maybe the room is only scheduled for a certain amount of time. And if you go over, then you're going to throw everybody else off that is going to use that room as well. So you want to make sure that you time your speeches. All right, so in your book, it's got some examples too of speeches that are, it's got one that's a 3x3x3. That one's on racial prejudice, but like I said, that's not exactly, discrimination is, but we don't want to talk about topics that aren't relative to training in the workplace. Right, so that's a head start for you. Look at that assignment in Blackboard. Look at the attachments, read them, and then get busy with your speech. If you have any questions, you can send me an email. Narrow your speech topic down. Don't make it so broad that you're not going to have time to cover it. Okay, so you have to be very specific about your topic. Don't compound your topic. Don't have one topic here and another topic here and try to mash them up together, because that's not going to work either. Pick one topic and narrow it down to what it is that you want to speak about. And then have enough sources so that your information isn't biased and so that you get well-rounded information about it. So I'll talk to you later. Have a good evening. Good night.